Welcome to Lesson 7 Part A of Youth by Isaac Asimov's Today's Learning Intention is to learn about dramatic irony and to recap contrast. We know we'll be successful if we can explain what dramatic irony means and give an example, we can analyse an example from the text and explain how it adds tension, and we can recall what contrast means and apply knowledge from earlier in the unit to a later example. So we're kind of looking at three different things today. We're going to start off by reading chapter 7 and then chapter 8. So again, the usual preamble. If you don't want to listen to me read it, just read chapter 7, chapter 8, and then move on to part C. Away we go. Chapter 7. The industrialist said, "It's the workmanship that gets me. I never saw such construction." "What good is it now?" said the astronomer bitterly. "There's nothing left. There'll be no second landing. This ship detected life on our planet through accident. Other exploring parties would come no closer than necessary to establish the fact that there were no super-dense worlds existing in our solar system. Well, there's no quarreling with a crash landing. The ship hardly seems damaged. If only some had survived, the ship might have been repaired. If they had survived, there would be no trade in any case. They're too different, too disturbing. In any case, it's over." They entered the house, and the industrialist greeted his wife calmly. "Lunch about ready, dear?" "I'm afraid not. You see..." She looked hesitantly at the astronomer. "Is anything wrong?" asked the industrialist. "Why not tell me? I'm sure our guest won't mind a little family discussion." "Pray don't pay any attention whatever to me," muttered the astronomer. He moved miserably to the other end of the living room. The woman said in low, hurried tones, "Really, dear, Cook's that upset. I've been soothing her for hours, and honestly, I don't know why Red should have done it." "Done what?" The industrialist was more amused than otherwise. It had taken the united efforts of himself and his son months to argue his wife into using the name Red rather than the perfectly ridiculous, viewed youngster fashion name, which was his real one. She said, "He's taken most of the chopped meat." "He's eaten it?" "Well, I hope not. It was raw." "Then what would he want it for?" "I haven't the slightest idea. I haven't seen him since breakfast. Meanwhile, Cook's just furious. She caught him vanishing out the kitchen door, and there was a bowl of chopped meat just about empty when she was going to use it for lunch. Well, you know Cook. She had to change the lunch menu, and that means she won't be worth living with for a week. You'll just have to speak to Red, dear. Make him promise not to do things in the kitchen anymore. And it wouldn't hurt to have him apologize to Cook." "Oh, come. She works for us. If we don't complain about a change in lunch menu, why should she?" "Because she's the one who has double work made for her, and she's talking about quitting. Good cooks aren't easy to get. Do you remember the one before her?" It was a strong argument. The industrialist looked about vaguely. He said, "I suppose you're right. He isn't here, I suppose. When he comes in, I'll talk to him. You better start. Here he comes." Red walked into the house and said cheerfully, "Time for lunch, I guess." He looked from one parent to the other in quick speculation at their fixed stares and said, "Gotta clean up first, though," and made for the other door. The industrialist said, "One moment, son." "Sir? Where's your little friend?" Red said carelessly, "He's around somewhere. We were sort of just walking and I got around and he wasn't there." This was perfectly true, and Red felt on safe ground. "I told him it was lunchtime. I said, I suppose it's about lunchtime. I said, we better be getting back to the house. And he said, yes. And I just went on, and then I was about at the creek. I looked around, and..." The astronomer interrupted the voluble story, looking up from a magazine he had been sightlessly rummaging through. "I wouldn't worry about my youngster. He's quite self-reliant. Don't wait lunch for him." "Lunch isn't ready in any case, Doctor." The industrialist turned once more to his son. "And talking about that, son, the reason for it is that something happened to the ingredients. Do you have anything to say?" "Sir?" "I hate to feel I have to explain myself more fully. Why did you take the chopped meat?" "The chopped meat?" "The chopped meat." He waited patiently. Red said, "Well, I sort of..." "Hungry?" prompted his father. "For raw meat?" "No, sir, I just sort of needed it." "For what exactly?" Red looked miserable and remained silent. The astronomer broke in again. "If you don't mind my putting in a few words, you'll remember that just after breakfast my son came in to ask what animals ate." "Oh, you're right. How stupid of me to forget. Look here, Red, did you take it for an animal pet you've got?" Red recovered indignant breath. He said, "You mean Slim came in here and said I had an animal? He came in here and said that? He said I had an animal?" "No, he didn't. He simply asked what animals ate, that's all. Now, if he promised you he wouldn't tell on you, he didn't. It's your own foolishness in trying to take something without permission that gave you away. That happened to be stealing. Now, have you an animal? I ask you a direct question." "Yes, sir." It was a whisper so low as hardly to be heard. "All right, you'll have to get rid of it. Do you understand?" Red's mother intervened. "Do you mean to say you're keeping a meat-eating animal, Red? It might bite you and give you blood poison." "They're only small ones," quavered Red. "They hardly budge if you touch them." "They? How many do you have?" "2. "Where are they?" The industrialist touched her arm. "Don't chivvy the child any further," he said in a low voice. "If he says he'll get rid of them, he will, and that's punishment enough." He dismissed the matter from his mind. Okay, so that was chapter 7. The next chapter, chapter 8, is on part B, and the tasks are on part C. So make your way through to those, please, now. See you over there.